All right, this is chapter 5, host application and data security. Okay, securing a host. First of all, what is a host? Anyone know what a host is? It's a computer. It's a device. It could be a computer. It could be a printer. It could be a scanner. It could be a whatever. Okay, it could be on the network. Does it have to be on a network? Not necessarily. It does not. And we also have applications in data. Okay. We talk about protecting the physical device. I did a project a couple years ago where I was talking to my students about using permissions in Windows. Where basically you set, read only, whatever. And I gave my students an entire class period after I got done lecturing over it to secure a file. I said, put a file in the root directory, and if you can make it so I cannot open that file up within 5 minutes, you get some extra credit. So they spent an entire class period, changing permissions on it and everything else. And I told them I would not break your password or anything. So they all did it. They saved their file. They set permissions so I couldn't get to it. But what we were using at the time was we had removable hard drives. So at the end of the class, they took the drive up, put it in the cabinet. I would grab their drives out of the cabinet, put it in my machine as a slave hard drive, copy the files right over, because I wasn't booting Windows in their machine. And they said that was cheating. So that wasn't cheating. They said, well, we couldn't take our drives home. I said, you never asked. If you had asked, I would have said, yes, take it home. That's the only way you can secure it this week. But the point is, without physical security, you really have no security. Because if you can get to the device, like a lot of Linux machines, you can boot to single user mode. What's that do? Right. You're root. You bypass all security. So if you can get to the machine, I talked to you yesterday about, at Tinker, how I told them to delete that file, just boot to a CD-ROM or something, so you're not running Windows. So there's physical security is a big deal. Okay, securing the operating system software itself, doing updates, which happens daily. Okay, using security-based software applications. This is a big market now for security applications, and then monitoring what's going on. Okay, all right. So we talked about physical security. Host security, okay, and how about mobile device security? Okay, that Shalon's gonna be building a class in that area, but mobile devices, we're all using that now. Yeah, everybody. Do you guys have iPads here on your campus yet or anything? Yeah, we do, and the school's even buying them for people now. They were trying to figure out a way to get people to come to training. So what they were doing was, if you went to enough training classes, they would give you an iPad. So kind of cool. But I'm buying one anyway, so. But there's a lot of different. So physical is restricting access to equipment areas. So server rooms should probably be behind some sort of lock, which would be a good idea. Hardware locks could be a standard key, could be a deadbolt, could be whatever. Okay. Now I have a doggy door at my house. Anyone have a doggy door in their house? Yeah. I had a big doggy door, pretty large. I can't fit through it, but my son could fit through it. Well, he's big now. He probably can't anymore. I did because I had a big dog, 40-pound dog, and she would go in and out. It was funny. We actually had a doggy door going from the house into the garage, and then from the garage outside. And then we had a fenced-in backyard, a big, huge 1-acre yard. She would always dig underneath the fence. And we're from Oklahoma. We have red dirt there, so I had a very light-colored dog. So you know what color she turned each day? She was red. So we'd fill in the hole. Put rocks there, she'd dig another hole. I was like, what the heck? Finally, one day I accidentally left the gate unlocked. So guess what she did? She walked out the gate and sat in the front yard. So when she would get out, she would literally be sitting in the front yard. So finally I said, the heck with it, she ain't going nowhere. So we actually put a doggy door in the fence so she can go in and out of the yard. But the point is that doggy door making my house less secure? Yes, it is. Now that that dog has passed away, I want to get rid of it, but I have cats. But still, do I need a big door for cats? No, I'm thinking about going to a small door for cats. Then maybe you can put your arm through. You just can't put your whole body through. But still, still will be a vulnerability by doing that. Okay. All right. Key locks can be compromised if keys are lost or stolen. I've been at Rose State for 12 years now, full time. They have replaced keys one time in 12 years. Now, how many keys do you think have gotten lost or not returned? I'm assuming quite a few. So they probably need to do it more than that, but it gets expensive. It really does. It gets expensive to rekey stuff and do all that. All right, here's a deadbolt. Anyone ever know how to pick a lock? I have a lockpick kit. I use it mainly for filing cabinets because we got those 3-door filing cabinets in my office. Even with no prior knowledge, you can pick that lock in about 5 seconds. Because what it is, we've had those filing cabinets get passed from person to person to person to person. Who knows where the key is? And actually, I think it was probably Tuesday of this week, the guy that's working in my office this week says, Ken, where's your lockpick kit? I accidentally locked the cabinet again. And he had never used it. He's like, wow, that was like so easy. I was in there in seconds. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty simple. I used to play around with the, your top desk drawer, those you can get a lock. I used to pick those with paper clips. So pretty easy to do. But some locks are harder than others. Okay. All right. Recommended. It says change locks after key loss or theft. Is that feasible, you think? That gets expensive. It gets very expensive. And what if we have 50 people with keys? That means all 50 people need new keys. But now, maybe if I'm in charge of some nuclear stuff, then maybe I want to do that. But row state, I don't think it's quite as needed. Okay, inspect them regularly. We had signs up in room 214 this semester where somebody was trying to jimmy the lock. They actually went and removed the lock. Our guys went and removed it and replaced it because the lock was bent. It looks like somebody was in there with a screwdriver trying to bypass. I don't know why. There's just PCs in there. I don't understand what they're trying to steal. But it was this semester. Okay. Give keys to authorized users only. Okay. I have a master key because I'm up there weekends and I need to give in a lot of the rooms. So give me a master key. Opens up everything except for the main office, and I think I can't open the maintenance closet. I can open everything else. So is that a security risk by giving me a master key? Sure it is. But, I approached the dean with a need, and he approved it, and then they gave me a key. So kind of handy. Keep a record of who has keys and who has turned in keys. We do that at our school. Okay. Keep track of keys that were issued. It says master key should not have any identifying marks. My master key says GM on it. I'm assuming Gold Master maybe? I don't know. General Master?
General Master.
Probably. General Master. Is that really a good idea? Probably not. See, the rest of our keys are all labeled like C-28. That's probably what yours is, something like that. It's just some number, and they can tell by the number which single room or multiple rooms they can open. Okay. What's cool about ours, which is probably the same everywhere, like Shalana has a key for her office. But maybe she wants to get in 214 also. They could give her a different key that would open her office and 214. So they can very easily do that. So I'd like to get a card swipe system. We just don't have one yet. Maybe a card swipe system like the hotel has, that every single day we got to replace the keys. Yeah. Did you have to replace your keys yesterday, Shalon?
No.
Man,
It was okay. Yes.
I sat there at least 20 times, both keys wouldn't open. So today I left them in my room. On the way in the hotel, I'm going to say, give me some new keys. Because I don't know what the deal is. Every day I'm having to replace my keys.
I thought it was an expiration policy.
Yeah, it's just credit cards.
Are they susceptible to magnets or phones? Or
No, I left one in my backpack, and yesterday I had one in my back pocket. No wallet, no nothing in there. The day before, I left one in my shirt pocket. No magnets, yet they're wiping out. And the guys that were there, Jack, he was replacing his keys every day. What I think it is, hotels, they actually encode an expiration date, but also when they write it, the magnetics they use is so weak, they only want them to work for a few days. They don't want you to keep it forever. So I think whatever they're writing it to is not doing it very well because so many people are having to replace keys. Don't worry, tonight you all have to replace your keys. Yeah. All right. So, cipher locks, more sophisticated, combination sequence necessary to open door, as long as the cipher is decent. We've got a picture of one here. It's basically what you guys have. We have a cipher lock, a little bit different, but similar at some of the rooms at our school. And it was so funny. I think it was in the fall of last year, they changed the codes on all the doors. And then I couldn't remember it. And it was, I think, sometime this spring, somebody was asking me for the code. I said, oh, try this number. They're like, oh, no, that's last year's code. What's the new code? I'm like, oh, no, it's still fine. Because every time they change them, they're adding new codes. They're not removing the old ones. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, oh yeah. Whoever's reprogramming is not removing the old codes. Sure enough, all the old codes work. So I finally told him, he says, y'all need to remove the old. So they, I think, went back and removed all the old ones.
There's no reason to change it if you don't remove it.
What?
There's no reason to change it if you don't remove it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told them. I said, but they're like, yeah, we're changing it every year. I said, no, you're adding each year. Okay? Yeah, that was this last fall semester. Somebody, I think it was Jerry upstairs, says, oh, Ken, do you remember the code? I'm like, the old ones work. Oh, they don't. We changed them. No, you didn't. You added new codes. All right. All right. Alternative, we could have physical tokens. Maybe we have a smart card, a cat card, or maybe we have an RSA token, or key fobs. I don't have my keys with me, but I have a key fob for the gym. I walk up, put it against a sensor, lets me right in. Okay? Could be an ID badge, proximity readers. When I used to take care of a law firm downtown in Oklahoma City, I had wasn't really a smart card, but it was like an RFID card where there was no mark. I didn't slide it. I just put it up against something. And it was so strong, I would just leave it in my wallet at all times. Whenever I went to work on their network, I just put my butt up against the sensor, throw it unlocked, then walk through. That's pretty handy. RFID is the up-and-coming thing. Actually, there's a video we need to see. I hope I can find it. No guarantees, though. RF. Well, I think I saw it. There it is. You got to watch this video. It's awesome.
Excuse me, sir. Forgot your receipt.
Checkout lines. It needs them.
Have a nice day.
This is the future of e-business.
That's what we need security for.
Yeah. What do you think? That does happen. There's places in Europe to do that, and there's one that I was reading an article about where their grocery carts, when you put something in the grocery cart, it's tracking it, and when you leave the store, it just charges your credit card. You swipe your credit card on the grocery cart. But what happens if I had a jacket like he was wearing that had Faraday in it? What if Faraday Cages is like a metallic web that blocks signals? So what if I had something made out of that? When I went to the Regional Forensics Lab in Louisville, Kentucky, they showed us they had a Faraday cage bag made out of this material. You could see through it, but they used it for mobile devices. The problem with mobile devices is we've got new ones all the time. The software is always playing catch up, and if they need to get the data off the cell phones, it's hard to do. So what they did was they made a Faraday bag out of this metallic fiber, but you could see through it, and they demoed it with my phone because my phone had a perfect signal. We put my arm with my phone in the bag, and they wrapped it around my arm so no signal was getting out. My phone instantly lost all signal. But they could still go out the screens. What they would do is someone would hold the phone, go to the screen, take a picture. Next screen, take a picture. Next screen, take a picture. So the bag was blocking the signal. But what would prevent me being in a grocery store like that? You know, he's putting stuff in his pockets. What if my pockets were lined with that? Then there's no way they could get it. So I don't know if it's totally there yet, but
We have an FBI forensic lab up here in
right.
North Kansas City. I got to tour it. They have a 8-foot by 8-foot by 8-foot Faraday cage to actually go in.
Wow.
So when the FBI or Kansas City PD
Right.
confiscates the phone, the first thing they do is turn it off.
Yeah.
So that way, if the suspect, gets out by
Right.
his lawyer and he goes back to his PC and gives it,
You can't do a wipe command, yeah.
it won't wipe the phone until the battery, the charge comes back on.
Right.
So the first thing they do, they pull the battery, put it in the evidence bag, then the technician checks it out and goes into that Faraday cage.
Right.
Closes it, now he can power on the phone, and then he's got
And it doesn't work.
imaging tools,
Mm-hmm.
images, that puts it back in the bag,
Nice.
puts it back into the
Evidence.
room, and then he just does his
Huh?
forensics on that image.
There was a movie with Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State. Anyone seen that movie?
Investigation.
Well, no, I was just asking.
Well, it was. They basically had him in a Faraday cage, and it was kind of cool. But we're gonna see more and more of this. I went on a trip to
That's what I was asking.
Patrick Air Force Base in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and every time I was walking into their BX, their grocery store on base, basically, every time I went in, the alarm went off. I couldn't, but they saw me coming in, it would go off when I went off, in and out, it would go off both times at the sensors at the door. Could not figure out what it was. But then it started going off at Walgreens, all Walgreens stores. Well, what it was, I bought a new wallet, and up underneath the side of the wallet, there was an RFID tag stuck in, like where you put your pictures up in there. Yeah. And I had a shirt one day, a shirt just like this with an RFID tag underneath the collar.
Yeah.
They're putting them on everything because it's kind of cool. And there's actually a TED Talk out there. I don't know if I can find. You know what TED Talks are? They're excellent. They're about technology, and I don't know if I can. It's TED Talk about Robotic Warehouse. That's not the one, no.
There's some of the paranoid guys or people are buying metallic covers for their passports.
Actually, I've seen those. Yes,
Because
it's got RFID in them. Yes.
Put an RFID, and they think they're being tracked by whoever, so they're.
Wow. All right. I don't know what the video is, but what the talk was about. You know how big warehouses work? They're stacked with all your stuff everywhere, and you get an order. So okay, we're all working there at night. I grab the order and I walk through the warehouse and put in 2 of this, 2 of that, 2 of the next thing. Maybe drive a cart or something. When I'm all done, I'm done with the box. Well, this company redesigned the way that worked. What they did is the biggest problem is people walking around and getting everything. So they made all the shelves so they're square. I don't know, 16 by 16 or maybe a little bigger, and they're tall, like 5 levels tall. And they have these robots that go underneath the shelves. So what happens is you stand there on a nice cushy floor, and the robots go get the shelves with the different components you need and bring them to you. So you stand there, grab it off of this shelf, scan it, and it tells you which box to put it in. And while you're scanning it, the robot has picked that shelf up and moved away and brought the next shelf. Because there's all kinds of robots driving around getting these shelves. And what the benefit of it was, the shelves that are used more frequently were stored up front. The stuff that was used less frequently was ended up in the back, so they got it very efficient. So you would sit there and you grab it off the shelf, put it in a box. And while you're doing that, the shelf would be moving. You grab the next shelf, put it in a box. So then when you're done, you just slide the box down and the robot takes the box away. So you don't have to go walking around anymore. So kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, we have one of those, and it works pretty cool because actually from our manufacturing execution system,
Yeah.
if whatever's ready to be manufactured NACS,
Yeah.
it goes up in the queue and the person says, "Yep, I'm gonna manufacture that NACS." The robot goes and gets all the pieces,
Right.
and
Brings
puts it on the counter
Right.
with a little sticker, and then the guy who runs the machine or run different machines, they go up and get their product that they have to put together or make or whatever.
Nice.
But it's connected to the manufacturing system.
Do you ever
And so the shelves are only about this far apart. 'Cause
Right.
The robot runs
Yeah.
between them, and they're super tall.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's a real small room, but it's very
It's
tall.
really cool.
And the robot gets everything and brings it to the counter.
Cool.
Do you have a Federal Reserve Bank in Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Do you?
I've never been there now.
Ours has just been redone
Well,
in the last, 5
They
years?
probably have one. Okay.
So we have one, ours has been rebuilt within the last 5 years, and they have 3 robots, and nobody touches the money except for in one spot.
Right.
And if the robot goes and gets it, and it's, like you said, it's, they're just big forklifts,
Yeah.
and they go get, Bank A needs their money, and they
Yeah.
just go gets it and takes
That's
it.
awesome.
Takes it to the truck.
But so you didn't see any problems with that? I mean, I think it's awesome. But everything pretty much has RFID on it now of any value. Like Walmart, everything's done that way. Why can't we just walk out of the store now? So, yeah, everything's being stored. So, and it's good for keeping track of inventory. It can be on your badges. Don't the new credit cards have that fast pay or pass pay or something they call it? I don't have it, but no. All right, let's move on. All right, so, and here we go. Here's an example of an RFID tag. Okay, they also have man traps. When I was up at Tulsa, the guy was, they all have to do internships, and a lot of them go up to the FBI to Langley, or NSA up in Langley, and they were talking about the man trap they all have up there, where they have to go in the room, and their man trap actually weighs you, and you have to be within so many pounds of a previous weight to get let through. And it was saying that something they always do to all the interns, when your first couple of days there, they send you out to get 2 gallons of orange juice. And you leave, when you come back through, you got 2 gallons of orange juice, you're over the limit, the door's locked, you can't get out until a manager comes and releases you.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah, it's really a cool idea. Yeah, really cool. But Sneakers has something kind of like that. In the movie, if you haven't seen Robert Redford's Sneakers, that's pretty good. Okay. So asset list is record of individuals who have permission to enter a secured area, so who can access it, okay? What time they came, what time they left. A lot, at our place we have a biometric lock for our forensic store to get in, but we don't really track going out. Even our gym, you have to swipe your card to get in, but we don't really track going out. So is that an issue? It could be. If we had something security, like I'm assuming you guys track in and out there, Eric, is that
Well,
right?
it's interesting you should say that. Because in Kansas City, we do
Okay.
track in and out.
Right.
But that's actually not a requirement across the complex.
Really, it isn't?
Most people don't track coming out.
It's just coming in.
They're just coming in.
Wow, nice.
Because we actually had that debate.
Yeah.
That's a very lively debate. And
Right.
and they write going out. Most people don't track going out, even at the higher end security place.
Wow. But how do you know if someone's still in there? I mean, well, someone could get in. What was that show? Tom Hanks got stuck in the airport for months.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
I forget.
I forget the name. But we had a student multiple times in the last couple of years was sleeping on Rose State campus. They were in the engineering building and also in the humanities building. They were literally sleeping there. I don't know how they were not being in the rooms when they're being cleaned, but they would catch them after a few days and tell them to get out.
Well, what's nice about tracking in and out in Kansas City is that we can turn the lights and air conditioning.
Right.
We can have the environmentals turn off when
Right.
going to the room
Ah.
if it's okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually turned out to be kind of nice.
Actually, your Target right down here. Target's over off of whatever the street is over here. Have you ever been in the frozen food area
Yep.
when no one's in the store? I walked over there and the entire area was dark. I'm like, what the heck? But I started walking down the aisle and the lights started coming on with each of the cases as I walked by it. I went, that's a cool idea.
And that's what the new building. That's
that's-
as you walk into rooms.
Yeah.
And around rooms
I mean,
and
it's,
all.
yeah, they're having to go on and off and on and off.
Right.
But how many hours in a day
Right.
are they off now when they are normally on? That's awesome. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It was freaking me out initially. I'm like, why is this part closed? But then you started turning on. So, yeah, I kind of like that. Even you guys here have your motion sensors in these rooms.
They'll shut off.
How does that see all the way over, like, in the front, like your motion sensor up there in the corner?
Yep. And if somebody's actually sitting over there in that corner,
Does it get them?
and you could be sitting there working, and
Right.
somebody else is in the room, the lights will shut off on you because sometimes
Oh.
they'll sense you way
Oh, they
over
won't. Yeah,
here
right.
because of the angle that
Yeah.
they're coming across.
Well, we have motion sensors in our office, our business division office at our school, and after like 30 minutes, the lights will turn off, and our secretary Joy comes in at 7:30, and her desk is at the far side of the room. Well, the sensor can't see that far, so she's the only one in the office sitting there. The lights go off, and she has to get up and walk around, go wave at the light. She's tried throwing stuff at it, so pretty funny. All right, so let's continue. All right, video surveillance, TV, CCTV, no closed caption, or is it being recorded is the big issue, okay? They can be fixed or movable. I have a movable camera in my house right now. I love it. And it's got infrared, which is cool, so pretty neat. And they're very cheap now. I couldn't believe it. Okay, fences is barriers around a secure area. When I worked at the alert facility at Tinker, they had obviously fences out there, but they had motion sensors outside the fences. So the fences were tall with the razor wire on top, but outside the fences they had these big round things that were pointing at each other, and basically if you broke the beam or whatever, so it was kind of cool. Then they drive over and say, "What are you doing over here?" So yeah, all kinds of different fences. Okay, all right. Anti-climb paint, a non-toxic petroleum gel-based paint that is thickly applied and does not harden, making it impossible to climb. How often you got to reapply it though? I don't know.
I mean, when it rains,
I don't know. It's typically used.
Plus bugs, would it catch the boxes?
That would be net. And who's the guy who's gonna have to clean it off to repaint it? Ugh.
Yeah, love bugs.
Okay, wall tops and railings about 4 feet tall. Okay, but they have all kinds of different stuff. But it really depends on what you're doing. How about I don't think they talked about it here, but cell phone blockers. You know, they have paint now that can block cell phone signals, so you can actually paint your buildings. We have a faculty lounge in our building that has windows, but it has a metallic coating on the windows. Man, that blocks signals real nice. You can stand right inside and you have like no signal. Open the door, man, you got like days worth of signal. It's pretty crazy. So, all right. So physical security, we talked about that. Okay, portable devices have steel bracket security slots. We don't want on your projector. Actually, it does have a cable up there, or doesn't it? Do you have security cables on your projectors?
No, it's plastic.
Oh, well, it could be metal with a plastic coating on it.
I think it's plastic.
Okay,
I think it's
but ours have a security cable on them. I saw those more in the past.
4 twist ties
For twist.
attached together.
yeah, there's some less chemicals.
Okay, but I don't see them as much anymore. I think it's because stuff's getting cheaper. Did you really want to spend hundreds of dollars protecting a $20 device? So not always. Okay. It says laptops may be placed in a safe, okay, or get stolen like mine did. Okay. You have locking cabinets as long as the people can't, pick them. And here's some of the locks that can go on your laptops. When I went to D.C. last year to review the grants for the NSF, they took over 2 floors of this big hotel. What they did is in each room they removed the beds and put a round table, and I had us all sitting around these tables. So each room had a different group of people reviewing different grants. And they had, a centralized printer and all this other stuff. But all the laptops were like that. They were all, chained together, so we couldn't leave the building with them. So it was kind of cool. All right. Mobile security says many security provisions that apply to laptops, also mobile devices. More and more, I don't know, does your school issue phones to anybody? Possibly. I don't know if Rose State does, but I bet they do. I'm willing to bet the IT people have phones issued by the school. Okay. They haven't issued me one yet. Okay. When I used to work for that ISP, they issued me a phone. Yeah, but it's not that big a deal. Okay. Remote wipe, do you have the ability to do that? I know BlackBerry just got fined $146 million for the remote wipe capability. Okay. But not all, most of them support it now. Most of them. Okay. GPS tracking, you can pinpoint. I have the lost my iPhone thing on my phone, find my iPhone. And it was kind of cool because my ex-wife was down in Arizona visiting my son, and she could not find Luke Air Force Base because he's in Phoenix. Luke's in one corner and his apartment's at the other corner. Well, she couldn't find it for nothing. She's like, darn it, I give up. But we had Find My iPhone turned on her phone. So what I did, sitting here in Oklahoma, I brought up the program, saw where she was, and I could direct her. I'm like, okay, you need to go about 1.5 miles this way and then take a right. It didn't update instantly, but every now and then, okay, stop for a second. I could refresh, see her new location, then I could direct her, all that. And so GPS enabled, yes.
I think you're too nice to your ex-wife.
This was when she was my wife.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, she was my wife at that point.
That was a lot of work for your ex-wife.
Yes. Yeah, she was my wife at the point, but it's kind of cool. I've actually used it to find stuff. It's like, darn it, where did I leave my iPad? And like, oh, it's in my office. I've done that before. Like, I have an iPad, I think, in my backpack here. But you could find stuff that way, kind of handy. Okay, voice encryption. Do you encrypt your stuff? I don't think a lot of people do. Al was just saying this morning that they think Dr. Shnoy was doing something new with the VoIP, which he might be. All I know is it's very unsecure. So, I wouldn't be talking too much stuff on there. All right. 5-step process. They talk about a security policy. Do you have one? Okay. If you don't, you need one. I think we're at the point now where everybody has one, yes.
With a voice over IP,
Yes.
we actually, in our new facility, we're setting up a voice over IP
Uh-huh.
system to be throughout the facility. And so we went through the security steps to make that happen. We were the first place in NSA to do it. And so it's pretty solid. If you do it
Nice.
right. You got to do it right. There's
Yeah.
a lot of security on it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, using every feature you can think of.
Anyone ever seen 24 with Jack Bauer? Okay. You ever seen 60 with Conan O'Brien? Yeah, that was pretty funny. It was a spoof on it. But in 24, they had the Cisco phones. Man, they could do everything with those phones. I realized it was a TV show. Would it be nice if that was real, though? All right. But have a security policy. So most places do. Are they updated? Are they adequate? We don't always know. Okay. Host software baselining. What is running on our hosts? Do you have anything extra? What was it? Man, a couple months ago, I got a notification from our IT department. Ken, you are running unauthorized software on your PC. What they had done is they installed some new software, and they went on, found that Ken Dewey's got this unauthorized software. So I said, fine, what software? Oh, you're running Adobe Acrobat, and you're not authorized. I'm like, oh, I have the license right here. I actually had the disk in my office with the license. He's like, oh, okay, because I bought it myself. So like, oh, that's fine. They just wanted to make sure I had a valid license. Make sure I wasn't stealing it. Okay. All right, operating system security and settings. Make sure things are done correctly. The problem is things change. You know, we always get new PCs every couple of years. Are the new ones updated correctly? Okay. Then after you get all this done, deploy the settings out to everybody. Our system currently at the moment blocks my Log Me In. You know what Log Me In is? Log Me In is an app you can install on your PC, then get into them remotely. Okay. I like it, but our school changed the group policy settings where it blocks my Log Me In from working. Well, I got approval to get it to work, but they can't seem to undo what they did. Because what they did is they blocked it from the whole campus. They're supposed to be unblocking it from me. It's been nearly a year now. They have not been able to unblock it from Ken Dewey. I mean, I can still use it to connect to people, but I cannot connect into my office with it. So, yeah, because I got approval for it. They just haven't figured out how to unblock it yet. So, all right. Actually, I used another program called RAdmin. We were using that RAdmin tool yesterday. But I used RAdmin to remotely control systems. And I was in my office PC last night, working with the recordings and everything. And the guy in my office says, Ken, your computer's haunted. It keeps coming on, and the mouse keeps moving. I said, yeah. They knew it was me. But, yeah. How about patch management? Do you push updates? I don't know. Are these machines updated? I would hope. Oh, that's good. With ours, when our lab had, well, it still does have deep freeze on it, what we would do was each night at midnight, we would thaw them out, install updates, and then freeze them back up again. So I'm assuming you guys probably do the same thing.
I don't think quite that often.
Yeah, we did ours each night. So.
Theirs, I think, is not each night, but on a regular basis.
Okay.
You'll get the same, it'll try to install the same update multiple times.
Then all of a sudden it'll be installed?
And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it'll stop doing it, so then it must have gone.
Well, they usually come out on Tuesdays, so we probably could do it Tuesday and Thursday and be good.
Right.
But we just do it every day, and it seems to work okay. All right. Security policies. Document the clearly defined defensive mechanisms, which hopefully everybody does. Baseline, we talked about that a little bit already. Standard or checklists against which systems can be evaluated. Hey, does everybody have the same version whatever? What was it, a year or two ago now? Y'all know McAfee's up to like version 8 something now, 8.5 or something? What, 8.8? Okay. Well, I installed 8.5 a year or two ago. Because the school owns a license for it, plus I had licenses for it, so I put on 8. Because I got a new PC, I put on 8.5. Well, they came to me and said, all right, Ken, what'd you do? I said, what do you mean? They says, you have no antivirus running? I'm like, yes, I do. Well, what it was is they were still pushing out 4. The one prior to 8, which was like 4.5 or something, 4.7, whatever. They were pushing out an old version, so they were checking for the old version. I had a new version, and they're like, oh, we didn't know there was a new version. I'm like, okay. So then they started pushing out the new version of everybody. So sometimes, baselining against other people doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It actually pointed out to them that there was something new out there. Okay. Then the configuration settings is that can be used for each computer and organization. Do you guys do imaging at all? Like, if you get new PCs, do you install each one manually, or do you do one and image them all?
Image.
image. That's what most places do, which is fine. But the only issue we have with that is, well, I don't know if we still have that issue. We did for a while, but I don't let the IT touch my computer anymore. I do it on myself. But they had it where they would make an image. And then for the next multiple years, they would be installing the same image. Isn't hardware changing all the time? I mean, it's very hard to buy hardware and then 4 months later get the same hardware. So what they'd end up doing is they'd push an image out, and we'd have the wrong video drivers, the wrong this driver. Then you'd have to go update all the drivers. I'm like, so I got to the point where I do it on my own computer. Yes.
What they do, our people do is they have an automated install that runs and can run on any hardware, and then they have a process where they connect to the network on a VLAN that allows them to be pushed all the updates and security patches.
That's cool.
Since the beginning, since that automated install was created, and then it's ready to go. So it gives you a little more flexibility.
Well,
and
that's
it lasts
cool.
a little longer.
Yeah, that's cool.
One of the corrective things that RSA did when they got hacked by China
What they do?
was that they were imaging PCs, so that meant that the local admin password was.
All right, so configuration, kind of a big deal there. Okay, it says operating systems, security and settings. There's hundreds of different settings. Y'all understand that how many different configurations there are for PCs? There are lots. So if you don't have a set thing, like you can actually use templates to do them quite easily. Okay. Okay, it says changing insecure default settings. Now a lot of stuff is better. We had mentioned it before, but like when Windows 2000, it was built with no security. I mean, it had the ability to have it, just it wasn't turned down. But now we have. Now I don't know. Windows 8 is probably even more secure. I would hope it would be. I just haven't played with it. We hope. You can always hope. Might not be. I don't know. Okay. All right.
I tell my users that we may not have all the old problems, but we'll have a new set of problems.
There you go.
And hopefully they'll be better.
It says eliminating unnecessary software. Do you ever go through and remove stuff you don't need? Some places do, some places don't. Okay, it's amazing the amount of junk you find out there. Okay, get rid of protocols you're not using. I was looking at a law firm when I worked at that ISP. I was looking at a law firm doing something on their computers. I forget what it was now, but their file server, I've never seen one configured like this. They had NetBEUI. Y'all remember NetBEUI?
Yeah.
They had NetBEUI running as the only protocol on the file server.
Wow. Sweet.
Yeah, that was really a cool idea, because I'm like, so that means you can get to it from internal PC to PC, but you're not going to get into it from the outside world.
Yep.
I'm like, that is a weird way of doing it, but it kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, put something different on there, and
SPX, IPX.
yeah, IPS, yeah, or Apple Talk.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them. Okay, and it says enabling firewall. We talked about that the other day. Your school has them enabled, which is good. Okay, I have them enabled on all my stuff. So, all right. Okay, deploying through templates. There's a lot of automated tools. Windows actually has templates built in. When I took the Microsoft administration class, you can go into the security configuration analysis tool and deploy templates. Well, I asked the question about what does a high security domain control template do? And the guy's like, obviously it sets your settings to the best. I mean, the shortest password, time periods, the longest password, and all this other stuff. I said, what happens if I apply it? And he goes, don't, because you'll never be able to remove it. Because the way those settings work is you apply them, it's a filter. So it's very secure, but you really can't unapply that filter, and you can't. And if you apply something less, well, it only affects other things. So, and naturally, I was one of those students, which you probably hate, where I wanted to do everything. Well, this might be my alarm company. Hold on. Hello. Yes. All right. So sorry about that. Let's continue here. So security templates come with Windows. There also are other ones you can use as well. Active Directory supports group policy. That's where you can actually push out stuff. You can push out firewall settings, update settings, all that stuff automatically. Okay. All right. It says operating systems have increased in size and complexity. Obviously, everything always increases in size and complexity. Okay. There's new tools. There's new vulnerabilities. Now, when Windows 8's coming out, so there'll be more vulnerabilities there, or different vulnerabilities. So, yeah, different set of vulnerabilities. What was I reading? FTK. In the forensics class, we use FTK 1.81. I got an email from them this week saying that as of like October 1st, that will no longer be able to be downloaded from their website. It's like, wow, I don't know why, because they probably don't want anyone using the demo anymore. There's probably too many people using the demo rather than the real tool. So, oh well. But I have a copy of it, that's mine. So, all right, security patches are fixes for vulnerabilities. Okay. All right, here's a number of lines of code. Look at these numbers. Okay. So Windows is 50 million lines of code. Okay. But look at Debian, 324 million lines of code. Okay. That's a lot of code. Okay. And you wonder why we have a few errors in them. Okay. Actually, Debian's one of the more secure OSs, so it's really pretty good. It's got, what, 6 times more than Windows? Wow. All right, hotfixes. I actually had a hotfix installed for me way back August 24th, 2003, when Server 2003 came out. I adopted it immediately, and I had an issue with the way I was hosting websites, specifically International Gymnast. If you had used IP and host name at name hosting, basically with IIS you can host by IP address or you can host by domain name. Okay, well, I was using both, which is fine. You can use both, but Microsoft's new server, I had an issue where Intel Gymnast would go out to competitions and would update their websites live from the competition, but no one could see them for like 5 minutes. And that doesn't work so good when you're a live competition. Can you imagine watching the statistics for a baseball game that they get updated every 5 minutes? Well, that would suck. So the problem was it wasn't being updated. And I ended up calling Microsoft, and it took him probably 3 months. I had someone from Microsoft remotely in my machine nearly every single day. And they were actually imaging my machine, trying to duplicate it, and they couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Then they finally figured out what it was, because I was using IP-based and name-based hosting both at the same time, which is a possible, just not many people do it. It caused the caching issue.
Yeah.
So they created what was called a hotfix just for me. It was a specific problem that I had that they wrote it for. Now this hotfix was made just for me, and they don't want anyone else to have it because it hasn't been tested on anything other than Ken Dewey's system. So they said, it will be tested and will be rolled out in future updates, which it has been now. But for that specific period in time, I was the only one in the world that had the fix, because I was the only one that they found it on. Okay. Then we have security pack or service packs that have a lot of fixes and all put together. Okay. So patch management. Should I get a new update comes out on a Tuesday? Should I apply it immediately?
Test it.
Yeah, you should test it first. And I'm gonna show you something. This is a funny story. Y'all use Google Plus at all? Yeah, this is I like this picture. I'm gonna show it to you real quick. This is kind of about patch management. You'll see where I'm going with this. Come on, sign in. Hold on, I gotta use my 2-factor authentication. Changes every minute. Alright, I want to show you if I can find it on here real quick. Come on, where are you at? There's my puppy that passed away. See? She's all gone now. She was quite old. We need those more often. Smoking chambers. Alright, come on, where's this darn picture? I gotta show you this picture. We're getting close.
I like this interesting man in the world. It's cool.
There it is.
Oh, I like that.
I don't always test my code, but when I do it in production.
Yeah, I like that.
You can say the same thing for patch management. I don't always apply patches, but when I do it on live production systems. Probably not the best way of managing your patches. Okay? Normally you should test them. You should test them on a similar system. Get it working and then roll them out to your production system. Okay? Alright. A lot of them can do automatic updates, but you don't normally want to do automatic updates for production systems because what an automatic update does is, there's an update, automatically install it. Desktops, it's probably okay. But if I'm running it on my server, probably not a good idea. Okay. How about the last one there? Patches can sometimes create new problems. Yes, they can. Okay. Can't switch here. Yeah, but I saw that software one. I'm like, that's awesome. So, all right, here we go. We're going to install patches automatically every day at 3 a.m. Okay? Allow the user to do it. So normally how your systems are configured, most people do that now. Okay. There's automatic update services. Microsoft actually has something called SUS, Windows Software Update Services, which can actually download patches. You can approve them and force them out at that point. Okay. So the advantages of it, computers not on the internet can receive updates. Users cannot disable or circumvent updates. When I ran my company, machines would download the updates, but people would not install them. You ever seen that before when you go to reboot or shut down? It's like, shut down or install updates and shut down. People would just shut down. Then I go look at the machine and you ain't had updates on in 6 months. So I installed an automatic update system where I would approve the updates and I would force them. What happens is they would automatically install. They had no choice. And when they reboot, they would finalize the install. So yeah, I basically forced it upon them. Okay. So here we go. We got an update server connected to the internet. Then we're pushing, got a update server 1, which then pushes it out to the clients. That way, only having to download it one time. Okay, antivirus. There's lots of them out there. Looks for infections. They're normally signature based. It says search for known virus patterns. They look for specific specific code. Okay, weaknesses is vendor must continually search for new viruses. So if McAfee never updates again, are they going to have anything new? No. They must always look for the new stuff. Okay. Alternative approach could be code emulation. Okay. We're not really sure what this code's doing, so we're going to reject it, but that's not normally done that way. Okay. Anti-spam, we already talked the other day about a couple tools there. We talked about malware bites and stuff like that. Okay. To hopefully get rid of malware, but they can also send stuff through email, spam. Okay. And there's a lot of different filtering techniques, Bayesian filtering. There's also a new type, which they don't list here, called gray listing, which is actually kind of cool. I ran it when I worked at my ISP. You all know what blacklist and whitelisting are? Blacklist, you're a bad guy. None of your mail's coming through. Whitelist, you're a good guy. All your mail's coming through. But do you always know? So what you can do with gray listing is, if I'm a mail server, and I have gray listing enabled, and you guys are sending email through me, okay, to someone on my system. What I do is the first time I receive an email from Eric, you ever send an email and it doesn't make it and it says this email's been delayed and we'll try again for the next 4 days or something like that? Well, that's automatic, by the way. Well, what happens is the first time I receive an email from Eric for someone on my system, I immediately tell him I'm busy right now. Come back later, basically. Okay? And if he's a legitimate mail server, normally in 5 to 30 minutes he should resend the message. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to see if he's really a legitimate mail server. Because if he's a spammer, he's going to send out 1 million messages one time and never do it again. So what I do with gray listing is when I receive a message from Eric, I tell Eric I'm busy right now, and I hold it. Then I start to counter. As long as I get another one from him within a time period, I say, aha, he's real. At that point, I put him in the gray list for 30 days. Then for the next 30 days, everything from Eric I allow in. So kind of a new thing. It works good. But I had to turn it off for a lot of my clients. I had some of my clients did aircraft title searches and title reports, and they were really big on time critical stuff. Like if they received a title search prior to 3:30, they had to process it that day. If they received it after 3:30, they would process it the next day. So what if a brand new client sends them something at 3:27? And gray listing's enabled, so I don't do anything with it for the next 15 minutes. So then Aerospace Reports didn't receive it till 3:40 something. Then they're like, whoa, I guess I'll process it the next day. And when we're talking about a $10 million aircraft purchase with escrow funds, that can be big bucks. Yet the client says, I sent it to you at 3:27. So it can cause an issue. So time can be a factor with that. But there's a lot of different stuff. There's other stuff out there called SPF, Sender Policy Framework now. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with email. Okay? Pop-ups, basically windows appearing. Not normally good. Sometimes you need them, though. Some websites you can enable them. Pop-up blockers, you used to have to download it and install them, but they're pretty much automatic now with all our browsers. And remember, like FileZilla, and there was a pop-up blocker from FileZilla people. I forget what it was called. But nowadays, they're pretty much all built into our blockers, into our browsers. It's kind of like, remember back in the early computer days when you actually had to buy spell checkers? You had to get standalone spell checkers or something. Nowadays, they're built into everything. So, all right. Firewalls. We can have host-based firewalls. That's built into Windows. They work decent. Are they great? Are they the best firewalls in the world? No. First of all, they're software-based, which means software-based, it could get corrupted, could get circumvented. Hardware-based are better. Right? With Windows 7, you have to tell them what kind of network you have, and at that point, it determines some basic settings. I had a client who ran Trend Micro for years. Excellent software. I really liked it, except for the fact that it would pop up every now and then and say, you are not configured for maximum protection. Would you like to enable maximum protection now? So what would the client say? Yes. And what's maximum protection? Block email, block web traffic. Then she called me up, Ken, my email's not working. What do you do? Nothing. Then I go, look, it says you're configured for maximum protection. Well, it told me I wasn't secure. So it drove me crazy. Who knows how many times that same person kept doing that? I make you are secure. But if you want maximum protection, it means you can't do email, you can't search the web, you can't do anything. So they just don't quite understand that component. So the software base aren't great, but they're good. All right, logging. That's a list of events that are going on. You should look at them every now and then. Okay. It says contains information related to a specific event. Okay. The logs can track all kinds of stuff. Okay. You should look at them. Now there's automated tools to look at logs, because there's no way you can manually look at those logs. We were looking at TCP dump earlier. Can you imagine if you're actually just trying to monitor that traffic by hand? There's no way. Way too much. Okay. All right, they can record activity for a number of devices, for programs, for all kinds of stuff. There's things like web trends. There's just all kinds of programs out there that do that. Okay. Operating systems logs, security logs, just tons of logs. Okay. They can contain usage, account information, operating system information, antivirus logs, who's got viruses. I used to, when I ran my company, I'd look at the antivirus logs, see how many viruses were caught, how many weren't caught, that kind of stuff. So, automated patch logs, see people trying to not install patches. And here's Windows Event Viewer, kind of very basic logging. There's a lot of tools, the aggregators that do better than that. Okay. All right, benefits of all this stuff. Provide information shortly after event occurrence, which is kind of nice to know. You like to know, hey, something just happened, what can I do about it? Okay. Provides documentation for compliance. You need to be able to prove to people you do this stuff. Okay. All right, and there you go. Here's Security Essentials. That's the antivirus you guys actually run here. You guys run Forefront, which is the commercial version of it. I think you do. Yep. This is the one on the slide is Security Essentials, the free one from Microsoft. If you need an antivirus at home, I highly recommend running it. This is the commercial version, okay, that you buy for organizations. It's not the free one, okay. So the last scan, not available. Scan around 2 a.m. Let's see. The antivirus are updated on the 10th of July. So about 10 days ago. You probably update them weekly or something like that then. So I don't know why it's not showing the last scan on there. On history, does it show anything? Yeah, it's probably because deep freeze, it doesn't keep... It probably scans and then it reboots, so who knows. But kind of a cool program. Security Essentials is my favorite. Okay, there's lots of other ones. There's AVG and Avast and a whole bunch of other things, but this is the one I recommend. Okay. All right, application security. They talked about the second bullet there about application hardening. That means trying to find out issues with your application and update your application. I got an iPhone. There's updates for my apps on my iPhone all the time. There's updates for applications on computers all the time. Okay? All right? And then talk about the development security of it. It must include things like network configuration. You must test it, build it, make sure it all works, So a lot of stuff there. Okay. There's compliance standards you got to go by. You need to check for reliability. There's just all kinds of stuff when it comes into application development. And this really isn't a software class, so I'm not going to cover it in depth. Okay. Errors. What do you do when there's an error? Do you want the system to crash? We talked about the other day about fail safe or fail closed or fail open. That's kind of something you need to look about with errors. What happens when you get an error? How do you handle that? Okay. Okay. It says failing to check return codes can be an issue. Divulging proprietary sensitive data in error information can be important as well. You don't want that to happen. So error is kind of a big deal there. All right, we looked at all this last chapter about SQL injection, XML injection. So you need to look for all that stuff in your software. And you need to be looking at all times, because as you add new functionality, sometimes you're adding vulnerabilities. Input validation we already talked about, but you need to sanitize your input. Okay? All right. Escaping, they're talking about, says preferred method for trapping user responses. Okay? Just get it and then analyze it at that point. Okay? Then fuzz testing is a software technique that deliberately provides invalid. This is one thing that drove me crazy. When I was in the software development flight in the Air Force, we had a testing area that tested all of our software. Well, if it would ask for a number, they'd put in a letter. They always did. And if it was a required field, they'd leave it blank. That was their job, to try to break it. But it always drove me crazy. I'm like, darn it, put a number in there. They says, yeah, but what happens if they don't put a number in there? So it's tough, okay? And they do that to make sure you're catching all the errors, make sure you're validating the input. But it is a very tough job to do. And those guys had to write test plans of exactly what they were going to do to test it. And when they caught errors, they would come to us, okay, here's exactly what we did. You didn't catch it, then we had to go back and fix it. So kind of an important thing to do. Okay? All right. A little more about application hardening. You know, they talk about the different types of attacks and what you can do. Okay, we'll move on there. Patching says rare until recently. Patches are getting more important now. People are realizing that you need to do updates. So I wouldn't say recently. They've been doing it for the last few years. But it's kind of I think it's at the point now where everybody knows you need to update your system. At least hopefully everybody knows. Okay? Okay? So there's a lot of systems out there that do it for us automatically. Okay? All right. Now your data. It says data must flow freely. Yes. But it must not. You know, that whole CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. How about data loss prevention? You don't want to lose data. Somebody, didn't something just happen in the news where someone lost a bunch of data? Or someone lost something? I remember in an article, somebody lost something. But, yeah, obviously it's not a good idea to lose the data. Okay? I can't remember that article I was reading. It just happened recently. Okay? The goal is protect the data from unauthorized users. Okay? Again, make sure it's available. Okay? Some things. It says data loss prevention looks at data in use, data in motion, data at rest. Okay? All right? All right. It's on. And here's a picture of it. Yay! The architecture of that. All right. And that's the end of this chapter. Yay! All right. Let me stop this. It's chapter 5.